from all, to all, with all, for all, through all. We thank the gods of creation. We thank the ancestors. We thank the forces of nature. And we thank the earth. We thank them for their direction, their protection, their guidance, for keeping us, showing us, allowing us to know and enjoy life to its fullest, now and later.
Black people who once loved with the slow march of time. Time was ours to hold in the soft, low-born chambers of our hearts. And was we, the Afro mommies and daddies of a sun world, would turn our strands of hair into antennas to tune in the juju madness and syncopated love rhythms of Africa. And we loved with time, and we took the time to love, and with the right time we loved, and we loved time after time. Will we ever love again? Will we ever love again? Will we really ever love again? Or will we just sit and rot away with the brighter tomorrows in the skag field, rat-cluttered halls of our minds?
Black people, what y'all gonna do? Black people, what y'all gonna do?
Will the real black people please stand up?
Dr. Dre, there was Dr. James, welding cords around a copper frame. We sing songs not for the accolades, to lift voices like a helicopter blade. High in the listening skies, my eyes glisten and tears drop down like rain. Not from the pain, from the joy of how far we came. My brainstorms are designed to celebrate our reign. The collective, monuments erected, continents affected, presidents elected, ancestors making moves with the music we've been blessed with. We use it to keep communities connected. Through harmonies, a harmony is collected. Reaping the fruits our foremothers invested. Lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, yeah, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, listen, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Sing a song,
yeah,
full of the faith that the dark past
Good evening, Our Story family. Once again, I appreciate you all being able to join us. Those of you who are able to join us live tonight on cable, but also those of you who are able to join us on the World Wide Web. You also know you can catch us on YouTube at the W.C. Johnson YouTube channel, also on Vimeo. I have two special guests tonight who are going to discuss their business, their entrepreneurship, and what they're doing for the community. I'd like to first start with lady here, if you can give an introduction.
Yes, I'm Jessica Knox. I'm co-owner with my husband Alonzo of Backatown Coffee Parlour.
Okay, Mr. Knox.
Hi, and I'm Alonzo Knox. I'm co-owner of Backatown Coffee Parlour.
Okay, well, I'm glad you all can join us tonight. Make time out your busy schedule.
Thank you for having us.
Because I understand some people say when you're in business for yourself, that's people who would rather work 80 hours for yourself than work 40 hours for someone else.
Exactly.
And so, speaking of that, I'm going to start first by saying, with our audience, could you kind of first, give them a little background of maybe what made you decide to get into the coffee shop business?
Sure. I mean, I guess I can start off. We live in Tremay,
Okay.
and we've been living in Tremay since 2003. We didn't have, at one time, we wanted more amenities in the neighborhood, and so we began working with some neighbors, and one time someone said, well, maybe we could have coffee or ice cream, and so we were like, that would be good. We would like to do something like that, so we partnered up. We got into that business. Alonzo was an operator, and he loved it. He has a business background. He's always wanted a storefront business. We like coffee. We like pastries. We like food.
Oh, okay, all right.
And so
I like food too. So y'all keep talking.
And so we did
on
that.
Yeah.
So we opened one, but then the partnership ended, and then we always knew that we would come back and open our own, just us as the owners. And that's when Alonzo saw this location, and I was like, I don't know if we're ready. And that's when he sort of nudged me and to open it up again. So that's what we did.
Okay, well that's good. So you were the one who kind of had the gambling gene in you then.
Yeah.
They say for many people to go into business and make that decision, there's something they talk about psychologically called the gambling gene.
No doubt.
And that, seem like y'all kind of working off each other though, and that's good. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's and it's good to see that, because you all also are offering a modality for the community. It's good being able to see two individuals, not only a married couple, but from my perspective, you understand what I'm saying? Two individuals, a black married couple, you understand what I'm saying? Engaged not only in business, but from my perspective, this is just me saying it, I haven't run across too many black folk in the specialty coffee business. You understand what I'm saying? So if y'all could kind of just maybe explain to the audience, if you could, just, it took courage to get into the business, but what is it, I guess, that maybe the steps that you have to take on all what maybe goes into saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this, but then what is it from a logistics standpoint that you have to do?
I think first and foremost, it takes a lot of research, and it's something that someone just can't jump into and say, oh, I want to open up a coffee shop today. For us, it was an exercise of knowing the market, and not only just knowing the market, but the feasibility of success and sustainability. And so doing that background, doing that research, identifying the market, and knowing the customer and the customer base that you're going to target was most important in making that decision. As you may heard, you're gonna always say, oh, well, black people don't drink coffee, or black people don't do this. But I think it's fair to say that we were looking broader than just black people, but as Jessica mentioned, when we first had this conversation, and as residents of Treme, we wanted to have a lifestyle and amenity type business. And because of our involvement and engagement in the Treme neighborhood, we knew that there was a market for it. It was a diverse community, and it was one in which was waiting. And so the timing is important and key in terms of when you want to launch a business and where you want to launch the business. And so with that in mind, we opened our first shop in Treme. But I've always had, and I think it's fair to say, we've always had aspiration to expand beyond Treme and even beyond New Orleans and Louisiana. So that's where the second shop came into play, and the location, and looking around the landscape and seeing what was happening on Basin Street, right where the former Iberville project used to be, which is now Bienville Basin. And so we saw the movement that was taking place. And so with that in mind, we did research. We had focus groups to come up to help us determine what the name would be. We had focus groups to come up with what would they like to see in a coffee shop. Would you like more than just coffee? Is coffee your primary beverage of choice? And so all of that came out in the data. And so we built basically our entire coffee shop around that information.
And you know what? We always knew that we didn't want it to be a typical coffee shop.
Yeah, we're looking at some. Yeah, I was looking at some pictures there. I can see it's a extremely. Well, I mean, I've been over there. It's extremely nice sized coffee shop.
Right.
The decor and everything is beautiful.
We wanted to feel like you can come, gather, hash out ideas, talk. You know, some coffee shops you go to, it feels like a library, and we felt like that wasn't for us. Our coffee shop, I mean, we wanted it bustling, and we feel like that's our environment. That's where we come. We like a bustling environment. We thrive in a bustling environment, and we wanted people like us to be able to come there, get some work done, also get some ideas, help start on their own business and stuff like that. So that's why we felt like just designing it, even it took a lot on the design and just trying to get the energy that we wanted it to have. So,
yeah, because I can see you all have really, in my opinion, gone beyond just, I guess, having a coffee shop or a cafe. It's become a place for people to congregate, so to network, associate. And I can just see from y'all's standpoint, probably being in that business, probably First Fridays is like every day for y'all. Just that you all had that venue, you understand where people can kind of meet, talk, get together. And
it energizes us. I tell people all the time to just see so many young black people who are moving and shaking in this city, who are starting their own businesses, who have all these different ideas. We come across so many people from all walks of life, and it's a great feeling. You feel like you're really part of something that's growing bigger and bigger.
And from the entrepreneur standpoint, you know, of course, making money is always the bottom line. This, as Jessica mentioned, for us is the added benefit to see what we wanted to see as a business and entrepreneur. The fact that we get to see black excellence every day. Not that we never seen it before, but we see it firsthand every single day from every age group you can imagine coming into that shop, progressively talking politics, business, their aspirations, whatever the case may be. And to Jessica's credit, she did the entire design. She did the research on it. She did the color scheme, the furnishing, and everything. And it all has some historical significance to it. And she could speak to that in greater detail. Yeah, that's a shot of it. And so,
yeah, I mean, just looking at that, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, just looking, I see now. No, how would you explain the records on the wall?
Well, every month we, and that's part of our community, what we try to do every month, we try to showcase an artist, an art exhibit. Sometimes, you know, you can go in some of the galleries, and sometimes you don't see us in the galleries. And so every month we give an artist a chance to showcase their own exhibit. This one is LP Rec Law's exhibit. And what they do, we don't take a commission. We allow them to hang their art up for a month. They get to sell their art, and hopefully it helps them to progress to other galleries. They have an opening reception, so we treat it just as if it was a gallery. Where you have an opening, you invite family, friends, and all of that. So we just want to showcase others. We have the space, why not do it? So that's what we wanted to do.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I guess if you could just, I'm looking here at, okay, there go the lovely couple there, but
Aries and Sagittarius now, son.
That says it all, right?
Look, I know y'all smiling right now, but if y'all could just kind of give, because I know you got to be tired and the hard work and the headaches that come with this. You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't think people truly understand not just what it means to go into business and all the pitfalls and what you have to deal with, but just how you all of a sudden say, well, I'm going to go into the coffee business. You understand what I'm saying? And just how you put together a business plan, because you use the key word sustainability.
Right.
How do you put together a business plan, and how do you get the support, I guess, or the assistance to be, because, just doing it, I'm not saying, you can't do it by yourself, but normally with all business, you need some type of support, You
do. We work a lot. I mean, we work a lot. We up early in the morning. Although, I mean, I tend to go to bed sort of earlier than most people, but I'm up at 5 in the morning. But we work a lot. We do a lot of research. I mean, he researched it to death before we even opened up.
That's key.
I mean, we went to nearly every specialty coffee place, cafe. We looked at prices. We looked at products. It's a lot. It is a lot of hard work, and then you have to find, on top of that hard work, and you have a plan, you have to find money. And so that was tough. So once you find your money, then you got to make sure you have business to pay for everything you need to do. And so that it's a constant struggle. So far, so good. I mean, we're walking the line, I guess, and we're just trying to keep putting one foot in front of the other. But we have a lot of support from our community. People sometimes say our community has supported us so overwhelmingly. I mean,
particularly the millennials.
Yes, and the because we have some vegan items and things like that too. So we try to have a diverse menu. So yeah, we've gotten a lot of support. So we're happy about that.
Now, when you say menu, I know you all doing coffee. Could you tell us besides, you say menu, do you do also, I guess, besides just the normal coffee shop items like pastries and so forth, do you do food and other things, or?
We do. You want to?
We have a full tea menu, and that's somewhat unusual for most coffee shops to have an elaborate tea menu that we have, because we recognize not everybody drinks coffee.
Okay, I'm trying not to laugh. Y'all do so
especially tea, loose leaf teas. Yes.
Okay, so you got a tea menu. It's what is a tea menu?
A tea menu, we have about 7 different options of teas that you can choose from if you're not a coffee drinker.
Like chamomile,
peppermint, hibiscus and white. Milk oolong, robust. And the list goes on. So,
and we're finding out teas are healthy for you, so a lot of people are drinking more tea.
And right now, tea is outpacing coffee sales at our shop.
Wow.
The tea. But in addition to tea, we also have, I'm originally from Mississippi, so we have sweet potato pie, but we have sandwiches, a little different sandwich. They're like turkey paninis, which is turkey and cheese, and you press it on a hot plate. So it's those pressed sandwiches, chicken salad, tuna. We have different foods like that. Every now and then we'll do a crawfish and grits as a specialty item, and people like that. Any other?
And we actually have a series that we host from time to time where we allow chefs to pop up. They come in, they set up space, they have their menu that they're offering, and we offer that once or twice a year. And so that,
probably more than that. But
it complements what we're offering.
And again, it goes back to that community, because we're from where if you're rising, you want other people also to be trying. We're trying to rise, but we also want other people to be trying to rise too. So if we know it is so many chefs out there, and it's in the city of New Orleans. In the city of New Orleans, and I feel personally that they're underrepresented sometimes, and so we wanted to showcase those chefs. It is our hope that those chefs will one day be able to open their own restaurant, or if not, be an executive chef and things like that. So that's what we're trying to allow them to showcase theirs, and hopefully they'll go on and there'll be another restaurant out there.
Well, that's part of that community,
right?
You know, you mentioned the artists. Now you're working with chefs, and you know, so that's it's kind of a. I can see, you know, what you're doing there is actually becoming more than sort of a coffee shop. You also seem like y'all are incubator.
That's all we would like to think.
I mean, because we feel like that we, you know, in trying to get here, we had people to help us. I mean, some of it was hard help, and some was like, oh, baby, you can do it. But we recognize the help that we received, and we want to be able to give that back and help too. So so we even have natural hair care pop-up vendors. We have different vendors that'll pop up.
And to the point of being an incubator, that's something I think we actually aspire. That would be the outcome of it. I'm gonna say I can be a hard person when it comes to business and presentation, and I think this lady here can be harder.
I wouldn't say hard. We can be detailed.
We can be very detailed in terms of how things should be presented, because to the remark you made earlier, going into business, some people just see the glamour of what it's like to go into business. They're not recognizing that once we leave this show, we're still going to be dealing in business. And there are things that neither her or I would put our name on if it doesn't look right. And so when I speak about the detail that she did with the decoration and the design, it was detailed and it was intentional.
Although we get tired of each other, because I'll be detailed with that, he'll be detailed with the market research, and we just want it to cut off, but we know in the process it'll come out a pretty good product.
We
can wear on each other's nerves.
Oh, I know it's stressful.
It's definitely stressful.
I mean, I always tell people, you know stress when you got to make that payroll and pay rent.
Rent, payroll, and a lot of times people will look and they'll say, oh, it's many people in here, but they don't think about all the expenses. So, I mean, we try to give people insight. Yes, it's a lot of people, but you also have to think about all the businesses, and you have to put that in your business plan. You have to think about all that, not just the money, because some people be like, oh, I can make this much a month, but how much are you spending out?
And
you have to be real with yourself and be realistic. Between the two of us, we have 5 degrees, and it still was a challenge to get appropriate funding to start a business, even though we had a business prior to this, and we've started organizations and started our own business. It's still always, for whatever reason, and we can talk about the reason, but it's difficult for some entrepreneurs to get the necessary fundings that's needed to start up a business.
And we don't come from a trust fund, so.
No.
I understand. So it can be difficult, with all those challenges. That's why community support is so important. You mentioned millennials. Let me ask you this: when it comes to business, how has social media been able to sort of assist and help out with the business?
Actually, what launched us, made us a success that we are.
Yeah, that's true.
It was. You want to tell the story?
No, go ahead.
You can tell it better.
I don't think.
We had a soft opening to introduce people that we were coming, and there was this particular millennial who was present, and unbeknownst to us, she has sent out a tweet, hey, new black-owned coffee shop opening tomorrow. It wasn't our intent to open tomorrow. We didn't plan opening until, although she wanted to open.
I wanted to open, I was like, we're ready, punch the button, let's go.
But I wasn't ready.
We done paid this money to get it together, we need to start making money, punch the button.
But this millennial sent this tweet out, and she has alone about 2,000 followers. And it went viral. within 12 hours.
Well, it went because I think she sent it out and Mia X picked it up somehow and retweeted it. Right. So and then that's how it just went, and so I was like,
and it had like 3,000 likes within 24 and within the first 12 hours. Yeah. And so we're like, okay.
And so we had to get up to speed on our social media and all that too. So, but it has been a huge impact. Most of our advertisement has been through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're also like do some of the other like review sites like Google, Yelp, TripAdvisor, but Instagram, it's like we can put that we're having a special today, and people are within like a minute they're asking about it and all of that, or saying they're coming over to get it. So I mean, it has been amazing. Millennials have taught us a lot. I've learned about emojis and things like that. So that's pretty good. That's pretty. Let
me. You mentioned an important, I guess, internet tool in today's society that can make or break you. That Yelp.
Oh yeah.
Do y'all check your Yelp off? Do you monitor? That's what I want to know.
I check Yelp. I have the app on my phone. I respond. I'm the one responding. He's a former Marine. You might not want him responding all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I'm the one responding to it, and I try to be like a calm response. We get some good reviews, and so we tend to hope that the good reviews will outweigh some of the reviews that were unfair. Like some people will say, your staff was pleasant but not friendly. And so, and we don't know what that means.
Especially with someone, they say it, but then they don't go on further and define. And
they don't.
My definition of friendly may be pleasant.
Right. So you know, and so we have people who just want to do that anyway, but I'll thank them for their feedback and try to tell them a little history on it or whatever. And like some person was like, they don't even live in New Orleans, so I'm like responding, I'm like, we lived in Treme, we went through the storm, and we came back here, house still here, business is here. And so you try to keep it short and simple, but try to tell people more information. But yeah, they can. It's some people out there, they can.
Now I'm going to bring up a word. I don't know if y'all want to hear it. Well, are there any haters?
Oh, yes. No doubt. Yes, sir.
We don't dwell on haters or whatever.
Yeah, we're like Beyonce and Jay-Z. Yes.
Yeah, yes, just put their picture on my body.
From all around. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, but I have to say, I don't think we have that many. I just think people have been, I think we were shocked that people were just so supportive. They have been so supportive, and it has been pretty good. It's been pretty good.
People will say anything. And I'm glad y'all here to speak for yourself in regards to the hard work, the dedication, with all it takes, your experience, your educational background, because people may just say, oh, they cleaning money. You understand what I'm saying?
That's what people will
say. Who you
say.
Fronting for? You understand what I'm saying?
And sometimes people will sit there, and so I'm like, I know you go to some places that are not as clean, but they'll sit back. We'll see people sitting back watching like trying to catch it. It's like you're trying to catch us in something, which they don't do to some of the other establishments. And so, you know, sometimes we're like, well, that's just, maybe they're just hating, they're trying to find, but we just have to work harder on that. But yeah.
Well, you mentioned that other establishments. Could you kind of explain what sets the specialty coffee business that you all are in from going to one of these old, you know, everyday run-of-the-mill coffee chains, if you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
And what makes it so special to support specialty coffee businesses?
The specialty coffee lends to when you're getting into your various versions of lattes and methods and how you're brewing or pulling espresso shots to make the coffee. In comparison, you may just go to a coffee house and just have regular drip coffee with no method to it other than a hot brewer. And so specialty comes into play when you're somewhat at an elevated status, for lack of better terms. You want to know, is it fair trade, or the farmers in Costa Rica, Ethiopia, Guatemala, where you're sourcing the beans, and are they getting paid at a fair rate in these faraway countries? Then when it gets here, how is it being processed? How is it being roasted? What method you're using to roast it? Who's your roaster? So when you're getting into specialty coffee, you're getting into the realm of more data, more information about what goes into this cup of coffee that I'm drinking.
Now you're getting into some heavy coffee parlor talk now, from seed to bean. And you mentioned, if you could explain, you brought up the term fair trade. And I know for some people it has both a negative and, you understand what I'm saying, positive. You could kind of just briefly explain to the audience what is meant by fair trade coffee.
Fair trade, for simple terms, is basically like a minimum wage for farmers in these faraway countries like Costa Rica, Guatemala, Ethiopia, and many others. And there's a movement to ensure that these farmers, and in some countries they're called plantation still today, but these farmers, you want to ensure that they're not being treated as slaves, working in these farms and pulling these beans at below wage. And so the trend, if you're a reputable coffee shop, you want to have fair trade in your shop. Otherwise, you're looked at as someone who is exploiting people around the world who have no means of power to speak up and say, I need a fair wage for this labor that I'm giving you. Yeah.
You mentioned, I don't know if our audience is familiar with just, I don't want to go really into the history of coffee, but that fact that, well, coffee comes from Africa. You know, some people call it Africa's gift to the world. And even primarily, if we just break up coffee into, you mentioned Ethiopia, you know, looking at that almost as the birthplace, of coffee.
Many people don't know that.
Right.
Many people don't recognize
that. That it was something that, you know, farmers and goat herders would essentially pick coffee, stumble across wild coffee, the berries off tree. I don't know necessarily if our audience understand with coffee, you're really dealing with the seed of a berry.
The seed of a berry.
You do, and we actually get coffee from a black roaster who calls his bean fruit to let people know it's like a berry, it's a fruit that you're and so that, I mean, I think who better to do coffee than us.
That's right.
It started with us. We should be doing coffee. More of us should open up coffee shops. It's a good business. Markup is good.
But the reality of it is there are not many black-owned coffee shops in this country, and there are far few coffee roasters. I'm only aware of maybe 3 in the entire country who consider themselves serious roasters. So I think both of us kind of like.
What does that have to do with sort of it's hard for us to get into that import business.
That's where you get into the politics.
Right, because they have to import those beans, so it's like you have to have international credentials and things like that. So,
to get that coffee from the process, you know, and I don't know if people fully understand the process that you have to go through, because you mentioned fair trade, and I don't know if people really understand what's going on in some of these countries.
Right, it is.
We're trying to get the coffee and get it and get it where you can still sustain the people. To continue to produce the coffee.
Right, because they're working. And
the United States, my understanding, consumes maybe not per person, but just the overall size of the United States. It ends up consuming more coffee than anywhere else in the world.
It does. So we should be the leaders in
New Orleans
doing that.
is a major port. And has always been historically a major port for coffee.
See what you're saying? Going back all the way to
Rose Nicole, the slave who used to sell the coffee down in the French market, and that history of how she sold her coffee, how she roasted, and how that led to Cafe Du Monde and the rest of the chains. You know, so it's a history. It's actually history.
All the chains. I don't like naming their names. I really don't.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
No. We give if you're giving coffee history and you start off with San Francisco and the Bay Area with Cafe Triste and what happened during the '60s with the beatnik movement and all that, and then Pete's Coffee and Pete's would then start Starbucks. But all of them, when you actually go through their bios, they all go back to New Orleans,
Yeah.
and say, you know what I'm saying? That's where we all pulled this coffee culture from was New Orleans.
Absolutely. And currently, the coffee culture here still isn't untapped. There's still room in the city of New Orleans for coffee entrepreneurs to come in. So, and that's what we're hoping to inspire, that more people, particularly people of color, get into this business and start their own.
And we've talked to a couple of them who are trying to start their own coffee shops. So we've been trying to give them some information on how to get it started, because there's room.
There's room. Yeah, you mentioned, you know, I always like to tell people, don't be afraid. Because, you know, I was taught sometimes competition is good. That's why you drive down the street and see a Burger King right next to a McDonald's, because it becomes
it drives people,
people then begin to associate, because I don't know, that's a strange thing how it works, but someone could open, let's say another couple came along just like you all opened up a coffee shop across town somewhere. The surprising thing is it would probably generate more business for the both of you all, because it would encourage people to say, I'm going to go here, now I'm going to go here.
It could.
I'm going to go here, now I'm going to go back
see
over.
what they're doing different.
Right.
Yeah, and it helps us also improve our game and everything like that too. So we're fine
and
with
we're both very
competition.
competitive. So.
We're fine with competition.
Yeah, because you mentioned, I know whenever you're doing a business plan, you got to look at if there's a market for it. And you mentioned something important. Sometimes people would feel, and I'm definitely not going to name no names, say with some of these local competitors, you have some of them that can close down now, but they might look at New Orleans and say, okay, this market is saturated, you know, when it comes to coffee, you know, and you mentioned the you know, market for coffee, and is there a market for coffee? I guess what I'm asking, because one thing I always was taught in sales, that if somebody comes along and asks you what you're selling, you're supposed to respond with what you're buying.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm wondering, did you all already know? Well, no, regardless of what we may see or what it may seem like, we know we can tap into this market, because we know, you understand, there's going to be some people looking to buy this product, or at least what we offer or our spend we put on this product.
Correct. And a lot of our spend is lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's something that we both were keen.
See, that sounds like that millennial talk.
That sounds like that millennial talk.
Now you're getting past me.
Exactly.
I'm an old man, now lifestyle.
Lifestyle. But everyone wants to be in a certain kind of lifestyle that represents a certain
makes them feel
a certain kind of way and look a certain kind of way, just through association and being in a certain setting. And it's been my opinion for a very long time, people who hold up Starbucks cup, if I can say that, don't drink the coffee, but they just want to be seen associated with that brand, because it has a connotation that you're somewhat of an elevated knowledge, and you want everyone to see you and associate with you as being of an elevated knowledge, because of specialty coffee. And so when people go to these shops to meet, they want to meet, even though they don't drink coffee, but they want to meet and have conversations and have whatever they have to do in that setting and in that environment. So when Jessica designed our shop, she was fully keen that it had to look a certain kind of way. It had to be of an elevated kind of look to attract a certain kind of people.
I mean, and we wanted to offer, and we felt like we know, we are our people. We know our people, and we know that we like nice things. Now, some people can come in my neighborhood and put something there, and it's not nice, and that's all we have, and we go to that. But we know we like nice things, whether it's clothes, whether it's sitting in a nice place, a car. We like nice things, and so we wanted to make it nice so that we can feel good about where we are and what we're doing, and that also gets into our mind to elevate us to other levels.
Right.
So,
and the funny thing about it is, really, there's nothing about our shop that you would initially say it must be black owned. When you come in, you may feel something is different. If you're sitting in there long enough, whether it be the music or the art, or you're looking at the staff, it may call you to question, this is a black owned shop or what? But ordinarily, you probably wouldn't even know. And so for us, while we're proud of the fact that we are black owned and embrace it and don't run away from it, but when other people come in, they don't know. And I can look at them and tell that they may be wondering, is this a black-owned shop?
Yeah, I mean, just looking from your shop and looking at the people that's in there, first I say you make everybody feel comfortable. You understand what I'm saying?
That's
And
what
you
we're
know,
doing,
to me, when you go in there, you can see clearly what you offering different than the chains.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
We wanted to offer
and you get, you know, people always say, well, what you can see the personal service and attention that you get. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
And you know, you go in some of these chains, they make it clear that, you know, I'm just doing a job.
And that's what we try to tell some people too. Like sometimes we'll have people say, well, you know, I can go here or there, but we're like, you're not going to get that personal service. We tend to know our customers. If we don't know their name, we definitely know their faces. We try to remember the different drinks, and if they give us an idea of what they like, we actually try to modify a drink to make sure that it's something that they like. Okay. For instance, if you like things a little sweet, we'll put some condensed milk in your coffee or things like that.
Well, you mentioned when you said condensed milk, that Vietnamese coffee.
Yes, it's one of our big sellers too, because it has that condensed milk in it.
I ain't gonna lie, I like Vietnamese coffee.
We have a milk latte too. That's a good seller. Yeah, because it's a little sweet. Yeah, but you see, now you said something earlier in regards to being able to offer that personal touch. Well, to me, that's an example of that, you know, because I'm gonna show my age. I grew up in an era where, you know, the old men drank coffee, and primarily most of them were coming back from the war and they drank that instant coffee. That's all they knew. You understand? Because regular coffee was a chore. Because when I was coming up, you went to the store and you had to grind it. You understand what I'm saying? You can bring your beans and we'll grind.
You had to grind it, and you know, you if it wasn't a pot of coffee, they had that thing that percolated. You understand what I'm saying? On top of the stove.
I do.
And you know, when they say strong, it was strong. You know what I'm saying? You know, you understand what I'm saying? So now coffee is kind of taken. I think they're calling it the third wave of coffee now.
They
and
are.
y'all are part of that.
We
that third wave
we
of,
are.
You know, now you go get coffee, and I just say it's fancy to me. Fancy coffee.
It is. It can start off strong, but we try to. That's the specialty part. You curtail it to the person. So
Now we're in the summertime. It's hot. Do you do anything that you know? Sometimes people don't want to drink no hot coffee in the summertime. You know, do you have something that?
Yeah, we have the iced coffee. We have the iced Vietnamese coffee. We have frappes of different flavors and types. And the interesting part and the fun part
smoothies.
and smoothies.
We have a praline smoothie, which is very good.
Yeah.
You should try it. And it tastes like
avocado
it tastes like a
smoothie.
praline.
Wait, avocado.
We can do healthy.
I know. All the women like that avocado smoothie.
And it's actually one of my favorites.
The avocado. Okay.
Yeah, because you don't even know it's avocado actually.
Oh, I have a sweet tooth. That praline.
That praline
because we'll put some
smoothie.
pecans in there, and you get some little caramel and stuff. It's good. It's good.
And it becomes actually a teachable moment, because there's a lot of customers that come in who really don't know coffee, especially specialty coffee, and they'll come in and they'll butcher up a name, for example, and it can be funny, but at the same time, you know they're trying to elevate themselves. And so our staff, I think, has become keen in recognizing a serious coffee drinker from the non-serious drinker, and someone who just want to be there and be in the element, be in the lifestyle, and want to have a cup of coffee and try to expand themselves. So it becomes an education or a teachable moment at that point. And because a lot of people associate coffee as strong and bold, our staff make recommendations to tailor to that person's taste and like. Because more often than not, people don't want the bold, strong taste. They want something light and airy and sweet.
Full of milk and
full of milk. They want coffee in their milk.
Right, that's what they want.
Coffee in their milk. People have told our coffee sometimes can be strong, so we know if you're not a coffee drinker, you're gonna need a little more. And we have all types of milk: soy milk, almond milk, coconut milk.
That's that millennial contribution to be able to be responsive to their needs and requests. So
I know you mentioned you got some vegetarian items.
We do.
You have to have that.
We have like a sandwich just has just avocado, lettuce, tomato. So we have some of those. We have a lot of vegan pastries like the lemon poppy seed. We even have a rose petal pistachio donut, which is vegan, and it is good. It's good.
Now, Why these people now they got more things now than they ever had when I was coming up. These gluten allergies. How y'all deal with that?
I know. I mean, sometimes people ask us for gluten. We don't have a big display of gluten-free products. I mean, we can get them for them, but we haven't really. A lot of people haven't been asking us for the gluten-free products.
A small few, not enough to warrant to have
so
it
we
in
don't
stock.
keep those in stock every now and then.
Yeah.
So y'all, but for the most part, you haven't had too many complaints or problems, or because nowadays
just regular
people got so
reviews
many
and complaints.
One thing. This is just my opinion about the specialty coffee shop business. Unlike going get you a hot coffee from one of these drive-throughs, y'all got some finicky, picky customers.
We do. We've had people that tell us that it's our coffee was only lukewarm from Basin to the West Bank.
That's really what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
How you deal with, because you mentioned these old millennials.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this? Because people are very picky. These specialty coffee
Not
shop
only are they picky, but they have a
clients
lot
and
of
customers of y'all.
Yes.
They are very, very picky.
Well, we love them, to be honest about it. It can be frustrating at times because everybody has an opinion and a recommendation. When y'all gonna bring some red beans and rice in here? When you all gonna start frying some fish and chicken and some pork chops and that kind of stuff like that? What becomes kind of frustrating is that we have to keep reminding people that at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we are a coffee shop.
Right.
And while we may have more options than other coffee shops, there are some things that we don't want to offer or we don't want to become like a full-fledged restaurant because that's not our aim and purpose, actually. So, no one ever says that.
And some people actually want us to be a full restaurant in that they want
And
you
bar.
to have the waiter service. They're like, can you pour this, come back out, pick it up, and things like that. And sometimes if we're able to do that, we try to personalize it.
Yeah, and they become accustomed.
I think we have a caller on the line. Do we have a caller on the line? Caller, do you have a question or comment?
Yes, God bless you. How you doing today?
Okay, God bless you. How you doing?
Good. I'd like to congratulate the Knoxes on their accomplishments, and hopefully have many more Backatown cropping up in the New Orleans area. And I'd like to know, are there medicinal coffees out there? I know you have medicinal herbal teas. Do you have medicinal? Maybe you in particular, or maybe you don't. But in general, is there such a thing as medicinal coffee?
There's a movement to try to get that, particularly in states like Colorado and California. It's in the early stages as we speak, but it hasn't taken off as a trend yet. CBD infused beans has been experimented with, and there's some. That's really when you're drilling down on that specialty niche coffee offering, and the market hasn't indicated that the public is ready for it full-fledged. It's been experimented with, but it hasn't taken off at this point. I suppose one day, once the whole legalization thing has been fully addressed, that it will take off.
Okay. Now, I have a tendency to drink herbal teas. Getting into the tea industry, is that a whole nother animal to deal with, or is there similarities between dealing with the coffee industry and the tea industry?
There's a lot of similarities because, again, you're still looking at fair trade, you're looking at if it's organic, you're still looking at the import process. So there's a lot of similarities when you're looking at whether you want to focus primarily on tea or do you want to go coffee route. All of the import process has some similarities in terms of process.
You have to do your research
Yeah, you
on
definitely have
it.
to do your
You're doing a
research.
lot of tastings because there's so many teas out there, and then you're figuring what type of, like some are also herbal medicinal type teas, and so you want to figure out what they do, what's the purpose, things like that. So,
Yeah, and to your question about the legalization of CBD, we actually offer a beverage, and it's called Euro, and it's a tea that's infused with hemp. And it's been selling fairly decent, but it's been selling mostly among tourists. Not so many locals here in New Orleans have fully embraced it in our initial observation of that. But the interesting thing about that particular product is that it is a black-owned product, and it was actually started and founded by a local New Orleanian.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You mentioned specialty if someone has a particular niche. What's the cost now if someone wanted to come in and say, okay, would you normally carry, like somebody said, do you have any Ethiopian Sidamos? Is that something that you normally carry, or is it something where if someone asks, if you don't have, you say, okay, well, maybe I'll look at getting that. How does that necessarily work? Because you mentioned, people coming in, and maybe tourists may come in and ask for the tea that you mentioned, but then again, maybe some of the locals may not be particular about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we normally keep in regular rotation Ethiopian coffee. It's a daily offering that we have. We also have chicory, which is more native to New Orleans, but not many other people are aware of chicory or request chicory, but we keep it, a small pound of it in stock. And when we run out and customers come in and they make a request, then we reorder it. There may be a request, do you have Tanzania peaberry, which we may offer as a feature coffee, but not something that we will have in regular rotation. And if they ask or request it, we can place an order and fulfill that order.
Is Jamaican Blue Mountain all that it's billed out to be?
I actually like it. It's not one that is requested by popular demand, but it's one that I particularly like.
Well, now, before we get on out of here, if y'all could just give us the location, where you're located at, and your contact information.
Oh, yeah. We're located at 301 Basin Street, Suite 1, New Orleans. The zip code is 70112 if you want to put it in your little app to find us there. Our contact information, our phone number is 504-372-4442. And you can also email info@Backatown NOLA. It'll come to us as well.
Okay. Yeah.
All of our social media handlers is BackatownNOLA.com. Okay. So it's at Backatown NOLA, or if Facebook is the /Backatown NOLA. So it's just Backatown NOLA, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Okay.
And if you come to the shop, please give us a good review on Yelp, TripAdvisor.
Yeah, that's very important.
That helps us get high up on the ratings.
Okay. I'm gonna mess with y'all. I heard about this coffee where this marsupial eats the coffee bean and then poops it out.
I don't know.
And they're claiming it's the most expensive coffee in the world. This coffee.
We might have to research that. It can make us more money?
Probably so.
We got
probably
to research that.
Them tourists may ask for you. I think they say it's going for $30 a cup.
Oh my.
But it's the most expensive coffee in the world now, this coffee that is made by it's in Asia, Civet.
Oh, wow.
And they eat the beans and then poop it out, and people love it.
We'll research that. We'll research it.
$30 a cup, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I would be paying. I mean, to be in business, you have to be a little cheap.
Right, exactly.
I don't know.
Well, it was great having you all
you,
on
Brother
the show.
Johnny.
I appreciate that you all were able to make some time
Thank
and
you.
get on the show tonight. And once again, I'd like to let our story family check us out on YouTube, W.C. Johnson YouTube channel. Also check us out on Vimeo. And once again, please head on over to Back Street to Backatown.
Backatown.
Please get over there to Backatown.
Please.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Listen to me now, yo, before
Before Dr. Dre, there was Dr. James, welding cords around a copper frame. We sing songs not for the accolades, to lift voices like a helicopter blade. High in the listening skies, my eyes glisten and tears drop down like rain. Not from the pain, from the joy of how far we came. My brainstorms are designed to celebrate our reign. The collective, monuments erected, continents affected, presidents elected, ancestors making moves with the music we've been blessed with. We use it to keep communities connected. Through harmonies, a harmony is collected. Reaping the fruits our foremothers invested. Lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, yeah, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, listen, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Sing a song,
yeah,
full of the faith that the dark past has taught us.
Come on.
Sing a song, full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun,
facing the rising sun. Come on.
of our new day begun.
It's a new day.
Let us march on
Yeah.
till victory is
Yeah,
won.
until victory is won. Come on.
Till victory is
This is
won.
victory music. Come on, I hope you feel it.